Hello and welcome to Tight Lines. Fly fishing is now pretty much a separate arm of the sport from game angling, with fly gear being used to tackle all sorts of species from tiny coarsefish to sharks, sailfish and even marlin. Although I don't think this week's guest John Horsey has got quite that far yet. His fly rods have accounted for far more than just the more usual trout, grayling and salmon. Even so, John still very much retains his trout fishing roots, and we'll be finding out more about that and his exploits with the England team this evening. Also on the show, we'll be getting out for some action with Steve Cullen on an upstream dry fly session he enjoyed recently on the banks of the beautiful River Wye in Derbyshire. You can also join me on my local stretch of Old Father Thames as I celebrated the glorious 16th on Monday, the opening day of the new river coarse fishing season. And there's something for all anglers in Fishery Focus, when I'll be taking a look at what's being caught and the best tactics to use on different types of UK waters. Well, it's good to see you again, John. Thanks for coming in. And what have you been up to lately?
Lots of things, actually. I started off the year in February, March in New Zealand. So I went out there to give some clinics to their stillwater anglers, and I filmed a bit of river fishing as well. Then I came straight back, and we're into a pretty chilly spring on Chew and Blagden. But the lake's open, fished brilliantly. Huge rainbow and brown trout. And we also had pike up to over 30 pounds. So it's been a great start to the season.
It's been incredible, those pike, that early in the year. On fly gear, it just shows how aggressive. Do you think it's because there's a shortage of coarse fish for them to eat in there, maybe?
No, I think it's mainly because there's so many of them. Really? You know, there's so many roach, so many perch. That's their main diet. So, you know, if you can target them after the roach has spawned, the pike are just waiting to eat them. Yeah. And there's been about 730s caught already this season.
That's unbelievable. It really is unbelievable.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a word that's overused nowadays, but that really is just incredible sport. Amazing.
Yeah, it's been great.
I bet it has as well. And some spotties to boot.
Oh, loads.
Can't be bad, can it? OK, let's start with some classic fishing. Although coarse anglers have only just got back on the rivers, fly anglers have been able to enjoy flowing water all the way through spring. One of the most traditional and effective methods as the weather warms up is dry fly fishing. And a couple of weeks ago, Steve Cullen gave us a bit of a lesson on a visit to the Peak District's unique River Wye.
Place, believe it or not, a dry fly fishing. So whatever you heard about southern rivers and chalk streams, forget it. And this place has got rainbow trout, wild rainbow trout. Back in 1890, some eyed over imported here from California. They went into a dam at Ashford Lake, a little bit upstream of Bakewell. 5 years later, we had a massive storm. The dam broke. All these rainbows got into the river. Now, 9 times out of 10, if you get rainbows in the river in this country, they die. But the habitat here is perfect. Same as the river they came from in California. The feeding's exceptional. And there's 3 rules on this river. It's catch and release, dry fly only, and no wading. So, flies. On this particular river, it has to be a dry fly. If I can just nick that in my thumb there because it's rather windy. You see, this is tied in a barbless hook, and it's a big hook. It's a size 10. You can even get away with a size 8. I've got coq de leon in there is the tails. I can put a little bit of gink on that, it'll float. The body is a turkey by it, and it's got that lovely segmented look, which is exactly like the mayfly and the olive. But you've also got a little bit of partridge in here, is a hackle. Now the reason for that is when that goes in the water, it goes wet, it looks like legs of the actual natural insect. Finally, we've got this lovely CDC post. There's lots of oil in that, so it keeps it floating all day long. Absolutely ideal when you're casting consistently into fast-running water. And what that does is it kind of hides any mistakes that you might make. And it also hides the tippet material. Where that duck is, there's a little deeper bit of water. I've just seen a fish rise. I've got it. We've got him. Now here's a turn up for the books. A big grayling on the dry. Now we know we did have big grayling in here. Some real crackers. Let's try and get this in the net as quick as we can. It might not seem like strong water here because it's so shallow, but I promise you, it's actually bumming through. There he is on the dry. Olive come mayfly pattern. We've got him. Lovely little grayling from the Derbyshire Wye. Little beauty. Now, where did he go? Where did he go? Get my bearings before we start casting blind at these things. There's a really big fish on the edge of that current. can see them just under the surface. But I think, sadly, given where I am and how far away the fish is, actually getting a cast to it without any drag might be close on impossible. Now you see, if you could wade now, you could be in, presenting your fly perfect, but you can't. Look, oh, he followed it. Right, I'm going to try a bigger fly because they're coming up for these. There's occasional big mayfly coming down, and that's what they're eating. So, off with the small fly, just to see if we can convince these very loath to do anything fish to come up. Now, this is a massive big mayfly spinner. The thing is colossal. It's like casting a kite. Big fish, that's what we're after. Tiny little rise in that slack heady just over on the other side of the seam there, which makes your presentation all the more difficult. A lovely brownie, wild Y brown trout. Only came up once, but it gave the game away. And a drag-free cast, drag-free drift. Wow. Dry fly in the top. Look at the colours. Woo. What a beauty. Look at the colours. I mean, seriously, will you see a better looking fish than that? I really, really don't think so. Look at the red in that Oedipus fin. Blood, blood, blood red. A beauty. A real crack. Oh, there we go. Quite feisty in this water. I think it's one of the little wild rainbows. So much power. And what you'll see there is he's bouncing his head off the shallow water, trying to get rid of that hook. Beautiful silver, wild. Let's make that point here, wild rainbow from the River Wye. It's a bit treacherous here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to try and extend my net, if I can. Keep a hold of this fish. Come on, net. Oh, I'm making a hash of that. I might just have a stab at him. Bring him up over the rocks and safely in. We've got him. We've got him. This is an older fish. You can see the white piping on his fins there. Look at the colours of that. He's very dark. Got a tail like a spade, just like a rainbow should be. An absolute cracker, and on the dry fly as well. Let's get him back, see if we can get a bigger one. Now we're talking, boys. We've got to try and get this in quick because there's a bigger fish just up here. That's a lovely brownie, thought. Yeah, we got him. Lovely little wild brownie for the Y. Look at him. There he is. Go on, Stevie. There's nothing more satisfying than getting the trickiest fish in the pool, and he's a rainbow, and he's a cracker. Oh, made up. Absolutely made up. Oh, what a stunner. We've got what we came for. We've had the wild brownies. We've now got a good wild rainbow. And the fight is just unbelievably powerful. Come on. Come on. Look at the colours. Look, look. Absolutely astonishing. Look, 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 look. Absolutely stunning fish. A wild rainbow. A wild Y rainbow. And the hardest fish in the pool. And we got him. We got him. With a dry fly. There he goes. He wants to go already. Look at the colours. Yep, yep. Big fish. How unbelievably good is that? The trickiest fish in the water. And they're coming up for this fly, time and time again. And the rises are so small as well. I'll just put that in quite a loose drag. You know what, I'll lose a fish like that. Amazing to see them in that crystal clear water. Unbelievable. And they're the best fish we've had all day. It just shows you. You can never rely on a hatch, never, ever, ever. But when you're fishing dry fly only, you're looking for any opportunity. We found opportunity with these fish. Tiny little back eddies, goodness knows what they're taking, some kind of little smuts or something. But we got them. Absolutely phenomenal and totally wild. What a place this River Wye is.
That was astounding. You said those rises didn't look that small to me, but you imagine, great work by the cameraman there, because they were a reasonably long way away, and he's using the lens and keeping it dead tight. That's why they look so big. Probably from 12, 15 metres away on the bank, they didn't look that big. But what cracking fish!
I know, everybody wants to see the take as well, don't they?
Yeah.
I think that's what it's all about.
Yeah.
So like you say, it's great camera work, and Steve did really well. It's trying to keep a drag-free drift on the dry fly. It's a difficult thing, but and those wild rainbows, they were almost, the red line across them. It's almost the same colour as Steve's hat.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But why is that? Such a unique environment, because rainbows have got in many rivers where they've not taken hold. I mean, I've got this little feeling, I've said to you before, I'm sure we've got them in the tidal Thames, breeding rainbows occasionally. But how do they get in? Why haven't they taken in other rivers?
I really don't know, but I think the Derbyshire Wye is pretty unique water, but it's great for spawning. It's a lot of gravel in it, a lot of areas they can spawn, and they don't allow wading. So if you don't have any wading, if the fish do spawn, you're not going to tread the eggs into the bottom. But I don't think nobody really knows why. I've caught wild rainbows in the Derbyshire Wye as well, and they're fantastic fish. Absolutely great fighters.
Yeah, maybe it's something to do with the water, because of course there's a lot of spring water. A lot of the water we drink out of bottles comes from Derbyshire, Peak District, of course. Welcome back. England international fly angler John Horsey is my guest this week, and I suppose we should talk about internationals. You've just been to where?
Czech Republic.
Oh, did you enjoy it?
It was fantastic.
Really?
And the great thing was we won a medal for the team. So
yeah, and here is a aforementioned medal. There you go. This is something that not many England teams will be seeing over the next month or so. I would think. We won't talk about football for a little while, shall we? And that says on the back, 34th Fipsmush Team World Fly Fishing Championships, Freiburg, Czech Republic, May 2014. Well done, mate. Bronze medal. How difficult would it have been to get silver or maybe even gold?
Well, we were actually in the medal positions right from the first session. So we said last year, when the World Championships were in Norway, we might as well give the Czechs the gold medals.
Really?
Last year, saved a bit of time. But we actually we pushed them along the way. The French were very close as well. But it's between us and France to actually see if we could nudge them off the podium. But the Czechs are a brilliant team, so they deserve their victory.
And on their home turf or home water. Yeah. I mean, that's a picture of the team. You see Phil Dixon there, because he was in a little while ago. He was preparing to go. I think he was flying out there that weekend. And looking very proud, obviously. National anthem about, was it?
Yeah, we all sung it as well.
Excellent, well done.
So it was great. And Andrew Scott, one of our team members, got the individual bronze as well. So it was a real win-win situation.
What was the fishing like?
I think the river fishing, the Vltava River, if you want to know everything you can ever learn about river fishing, go and fish there, because you can fish every method that works for river fishing, and it all works, and you can catch fish on all different parts of the river. So it is a fantastic river. Are
they artificially stocked?
Yeah, it's a funny thing. They actually stock their indigenous fish as well, because they've been so hit by cormorants over the years.
Oh, yeah.
They're even sticking chub, dace, perch, roach, pike into the river systems.
Oh, because Phil was saying they all count as well, don't they?
Everything counted, so we've never fished for all species before.
So I mean, you've got your fly box here, and I mean, if you can, it's probably difficult to discern much of that on there, but if you look, you can see a massive variety of patterns on there, mostly weighted, and he's got another leaf here.
That's the nasty side.
Even you're right, that is the nasty side. But what I noticed, there's a lot of purple in there.
Yeah, purple seems to be the colour at the moment. It's come from the Czech Republic, and there is a bit of purple in a lot of the flies. We found at one stage that everybody, we felt, would be fishing the same type of nymphs. But there was so much variety and so much variety of water. I started off fishing very small, a nymph and a dry on one part, but they called the Devil Stones, which was very fast flowing and small rocky boulders and small pocket water to fish. Then the next bit, you're fishing a great big wide expanse of water, and you might be fishing the die 3 with streamers.
Wow.
And then my last session, I caught 34 fish and 32 were on a dry fly.
Huh.
So it's just about everything you could think of.
Yeah, you talk about versatility, all seasons in one day, all methods on one river.
Definitely.
But that's this is very interesting, because I've had to tilt my stunt thumb there, because That bead, is that a tungsten bead? It's really heavy.
Yeah, they're all tungsten beads we use nowadays. So you're not allowed anything bigger than 4 mil. So anything up to 4 mil, it depends on the speed of the river and the depth you want to fish as to what size bead. So you've got the same flies tied in different sizes and different patterns with different weights as well. So
And all barbless?
all barbless, got to be genuine barbless hooks.
Because catch and release.
Yeah.
But did you got any dry fly patterns in here?
I haven't put any dries in there, funnily enough. The only thing I didn't put in was dries, but we use in sedge patterns.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot of sedges there.
Yeah.
Loads of sedges.
Yeah, big dopey sedges there.
Yeah,
And
crikey.
but they're a great big mouthful for fish, so they absolutely love them.
We found as well that, when you're catching fish, like there were lots of wild browns as well as stock rainbows in the river. So you would find that when they took the dry fly, they would take the dry fly really well and confidently.
Yeah.
So in the fast water, you could actually swing them to your landing net, give them to your controller.
Yeah.
He'd release them then and they'd all swim off, and then you had to sign your card every time. But I've never been disappointed at catching 29 fish in a session.
Yeah.
It put me in 16th place
God.
because 67 won it in 3 hours.
That shows a good steward, getting you, and someone with a very, very short signature.
Absolutely.
Take my advice, learn some initials.
Well, I did.
And you've also been to New Zealand.
Yeah, I went to New Zealand back in February, March, and we caught kawahai and kingfish in Auckland Harbour.
So that's not in freshwater, in your seafood?
No, this is in the
there's
sea.
a bit of action, look. That looks like it's pulling back.
That's a kawahai.
A kawahai?
Yeah.
What? That looks a bit like weakfish, speckled sea trout.
Yeah,
they get
absolutely.
in the United States, all down the east coast, the eastern seaboard.
Yeah.
They catch them I've seen them as far north as New York, and I've caught them in the Florida Keys.
Well, they jump as well, and that was on Barkley Gulf lures.
Oh,
And they
yeah.
were great fun catching, but you could catch them on fly as well.
Yeah, brilliant, that is. Yeah, and we've got nothing like that here.
No.
Oh, there it is, there. And did you do any freshwater fishing there at all?
Yeah, I did some clinics. So I did some clinics for the New Zealand anglers. A lot of them who want to be in the New Zealand world team. They've got great waters, great still waters out there, but they usually use just 2 methods. So the Brits have got so many methods on our still waters that we're trying to pass on the information and help them sort of come up in the world.
I've just noticed this. This is a bashed up lure. Is that what you had there?
That's a surface lure. No, we use those for the asp in Sweden.
Oh, yeah. Oh, that's interesting. Now so that's one of these. Oh, here you go. You're on it there.
Hits it nicely. Oh, it's a huge asp. I've never caught one in my life. It's like a tarpon. What a wonderful fish.
That's a stunning fish. I mean, I'm trying to work out what that looks like. If you notice the tail, it's almost eccentric, a bit like a barbel. It's got a pointed top and a slightly rounded bottom. And the head, you could say it's bassy, I suppose.
Yeah, very much so.
And the body looks like the world's biggest dace or grass carp, possibly.
But they grow up to 24 pounds. That's a sort of real specimen fish. But that was about 15, so that was a specimen.
Good
but they
fish.
eat other fish. And the great
Predators.
thing is they take surface lures off the top.
Yeah. Well, I spoke to one of my old mates, Radomir. He comes from Serbia. He catches them there on surface lures, poppers, and that's amazing because it doesn't look like it looks like one of our normal coarse fish. I suppose if you only fish them with lures, you catch more chub on lures than. So maybe that's.
I'm sure you would. But the thing is,
similar.
we're fishing for pike. And Vänern is such a huge lake. It's 5,600 square kilometres. So it's a massive place.
Yeah.
And we were fishing in shallow bays and things and trying to catch pike. And the pike would come up and take those. But the asp absolutely loved them. So you had bonus fish.
And of course, I know you're heavily into your lure fishing, and a little birdie tells me you've qualified for Julian's Lure Fishing Championships.
Yeah, it was great. It was on Chew Valley. And
that's almost cheating. That's like the Czechs in Czechoslovakia.
To be honest, I thought I'd fish it so that I could see if there are other areas that time of year in May where you could catch them on the lure, and therefore they would be there on the fly. But apart from catching fish, jacks mainly, in 24 foot of water, the same areas produced for the lures as they did for the fly. So that was my 9-pounder.
Yeah.
But my boat partner had a 20-pounder that day. But because it was done on length, my 9-pounder was 78 centimetres and his 20-pounder was only 95 centimetres.
Wow.
So we realised actually we're probably fishing for the wrong size fish.
Maybe this is a very big male, you know.
Could
Because they say males can go up to 10 pounds, and maybe that. I mean, when you look at it, it looks like a bit of a scar on its flank there,
Yeah.
and that could be because the big old females turn around and give them a little nip, didn't they?
Crikey, yeah. Well, we've had some big ones. Cliff Hendry this week had a 25.5-pounder, and a huge fish, just ounces under 40 pounds, was washed up dead in the reeds.
Wow.
And it was spawn bound. It had over 10 pounds of spawn in it.
Goodness me.
Shame, but it's natural mortalities. It happens every year.
I mean, there's a big predator fly there, and that's sort of a lure. They're the sort of things you use in the lure championship.
Yep.
And I suppose here's where you get the crossover. You know, this is a fly, but it's a lure, and that's a lure, but it could never be a fly.
No.
And it's incredible. The two things at Chew, especially, I haven't got a cold, at Chew especially, have come into play. We're seeing it at Grafham and Rutland as well, of course. There's also a lot of lure fishing done there, but it's just incredible. Similar size, one cast out with a fly rod, one cast out with a lure rod.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of people now who are coarse anglers who are now picking up the fly rod and fishing for pike with the fly. And we had the Grays UK Pike Fly Fishing Championships on Chew a couple of weeks ago, and we had a couple of dozen anglers all just fishing for pike on the fly, and we had them up to 20 pounds caught in that as well. So it's a great one-day snapshot of what can happen. But thankfully they're eating roach and perch, so they're not really on the trout.
You said that when we fished together last year. They seem to leave the trout alone. There are so many coarse fish.
Absolutely.
Good stuff. Win-win situation, I think. As far as fly sport goes, this past week has been just perfect conditions for fly hatches, olives, gnats, midges and still the odd mayfly, although I repeat this year in my experience it's been a poor one for mayflies. River sport, for those lucky enough to have it, will be good, with dries in the evening especially, but nymphs, maybe even doldedge during the day, pheasant tail or hare's ear are rarely wrong. The warmer water will have some effect on still waters. It won't stop the fish feeding, but you need to fish in the right places. The windward bank will also be good, as will any areas where water flows in. Failing that, look deep. Use floating lines with as long a leader as you can handle on small waters and a fly with some weight. Start with a bigger lure, maybe a humongous or tadpole, and change to smaller naturals as the day continues. And don't forget, when in doubt, just tie on a damsel. And the reservoirs, John, I mean, you're the expert on reservoirs as far as I'm concerned, certainly your West Country reservoirs. The water's a bit warm. It's
amazing. It's 22 degrees.
22?
Yeah, and that's not really conducive to great fly fishing at the moment. The evenings are okay, and as long as the winds drop, that you get good hatches and you can still catch them on dries.
Yeah.
But in the daytime, I was on Blagdon yesterday, and we were having to use 18-foot leaders and fish nymphs, 4 nymphs, fish them really, really slowly and try and fish close to the margins and get coryxa feeders. What will happen, I think, is that the fish will start to move to the more oxygenated water by the aerators. So once again, fish slow, fish deep, and just keep watching for your takes rather than feeling.
Coryxa, I'll just explain, they're more like those little miniature water boatmen, aren't they?
They are lesser water boatmen.
And they paddle about. And,
they do, but they come from the bottom to the surface to get an air bubble, and when they do that, the trout know that they're really vulnerable and they hit them very hard. So use strong leader, 8 pound minimum.
Really?
Yeah.
And I've noticed when I've been fishing at Rutland before with a lot of coryxa about, they're very close in.
Yeah.
And sometimes it pays you to stand back from the water for the first couple of casts and just go in the real margins, doesn't it?
Definitely, and they'll feed, the trout will feed in short spurts because they expend so much energy taking the flies. They'll feed for, say, 10 minutes, go off for 40 minutes. But when they come in, just be prepared. If 2 of you are fishing in the boat at the same time, as soon as one hits one, don't stop fishing yourself because you'll probably get a take as well.
Now, you've brought in your reservoir fly box, and this is the good side.
That's the good side. It's only one of my boxes, but it's got a bit of everything in it, that one.
And I noticed, I'm just going to take one of these nymphs out at random. Let's take that one out there. And just... Now, the thing that... What would you describe that as? Just a standard black nymph?
That is a black darback with jungle cock cheeks. I've got to thank Lloyd Pallett for tying a lot of these for me as well, because nowadays I don't have so much time, so Lloyd's great on this fly.
The thing that notices for me, though, if I turn it like that, how slim the profile is.
Yeah, Yeah, we do. Chew and Blagden, a lot of our reservoirs are very clear, so we use a very slim profile. And we use them mainly on size 10s as well to get them down a bit.
Yeah.
The size 10 hook is a much stronger hook for holding these big fish than
Yeah,
size
they
12.
need holding as well. And on a reservoir, you've got to use a more powerful rod. You can't use like a little 5 to 6 weight you might use on a still water to catch
Yeah.
big fish. You're using an 8 to 9 to get the sinking lines
Yeah.
out. And so, but that was the good side.
Yes.
Now,
Yeah,
this is the candy floss.
that is.
The candy floss side. And, you know, it's all very well being a purist and it's all very well just going to an imps, but sometimes you want to get a pull. And if you want to get a pull, you've got to put something on that's going to attract a fish.
Yeah, I mean, one side are all boobies, the other side are all blobs. Blobs are great flies. For people who are worried about blobs, it's a fly. Get
course
used
it
to
is,
it.
yeah.
That's all it is.
Yeah.
And bright colours attract fish.
Yeah.
Not just rainbows, they also attract brownies as well, but predominantly rainbows. They don't have to be fished at breakneck speed. They can be figure-eighted. You'll get them almost static under a bung sometimes. So you can absolutely
That's
fish
a
it
double
slow if you
whammy,
like.
mate.
I know, it
That's
is.
double sacrilege. That's swearing in church.
Some people like using them, so if they want to use them,
Absolutely,
that's
I've got no problem.
I've got no problem.
Funny, I don't enjoy it, which it sounds weird for a match angler. I used to catch
Yeah.
as many fish as possible. But I like to think I've tricked them into taking something that would normally be part of their diet.
Me too. I've got to use lures because I've
Course
got to
you have,
catch fish. I'm a
competition,
competition angler, so
Yeah.
I've got to do it. But they're great. And boobies as well will catch you fish, wild fish in the southern hemisphere,
Yeah.
better than nymphs a lot of the time.
Amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is.
And just give an example. This is chew fish.
Yep, Chew Valley fish. Earlier in the season, big 5 pound
Gorgeous
plus,
looking trout. Wow.
grown on overwintered rainbow. That was released as well. We're putting a lot of these big fish back nowadays. And they're the ones to put back, rather than the stockies. You know, put back your fish that have grown on and they've got a chance of overwintering yet another year as well.
And that's another chew fish, but it's not quite a trout.
No, that was a 30 pound 4 ounce pike, and that is the deepest pike I've ever caught on chew.
It's got some girth, that is. Is that it's spawn bound, is that?
No, that's not. That's already spawned. You can see where my left hand is. If that had spawn in it, that would have been closer to 40 pounds than 30 pounds.
Wow.
That was on a fly.
Slack Alice, that
Oh,
one,
no.
yeah.
Beautiful fish, though.
And on a fly, and we'll just have a quick look at this before we go. I mean, that's the kind of fly.
That was it. That was,
Oh,
a
that
very
was the
fly.
one, was it?
Yeah, and that was given to me by one of my clients last year.
Do you ever tie one? No, do you tie?
I tie lots of flies, yeah. But that was given to me, and I put it on. I caught that 30 pounder. And funny thing is, I haven't caught a fish on it since.
Oh, that would be in a glass case if it was me.
Yeah.
But it's really interesting because this. I've spoken to Mike Green about this, and the yellows and the chartreuse and the greens produce a lot of fish, don't they?
They certainly do. But really, they're roach patterns. Anything about this, that's about the right size. And at the moment, we've been watching the grebes feeding on roach and perch, and they're about 3 to 4 inches long. And that's exactly the size.
Last year's fry, I take it. Though,
Yeah,
wasn't it?
last year's. We've got this year around. I've actually weighed more big pike and photographed more big pike for trout anglers than I have pike anglers this year.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So what have you got coming up?
I go to Norway in July.
Oh, it's a
Take
tough life. isn't
Two
it?
of the Lexus winners from last year out, Ben Dobson and Russ Owen. Russ was world champion a while ago, so they're good anglers. So taking them to fish
Is that
for
trout fishing?
big wild brown trout,
Right.
yeah, and maybe the odd salmon.
Lovely.
So it's a pretty exclusive place. I don't even know where it is. So I've got that, and then we've got different finals. Hopefully, I'll get into the national championships in September on Rutland, but I've got to fish my qualifier yet. So
Fantastic.
more comps.
Well, good luck, mate. I'm sure you'll be doing your best. Like in British Lure Championships, look forward to
Oh,
it.
yeah, I've got that as well.
Yeah,
Got that.
a man of all parts. That's it for this week. Keep the angler photos and questions coming in on email, and check out the website for all sorts of features and information, Fishermania included. You can follow us on Twitter as well, and Fordy will have his Tweetermania updates from the last qualifier, the very final qualifier at Lindholm Lakes on Wednesday. Thanks, John. It's been great to see you, as always. Always enjoy your company.
Thanks,
mate.
Keith. It's been great.
Next week, my guest is Rob Hughes. We'll be discussing the carp scene and Fishermania, of course. Join us at 6 p.m. on Sky Sports 4. That's next week's show with carper Rob Hughes, 6 o'clock, Sky Sports 4. Don't forget, we're also available every week on demand in the Sky Sports section of Catch Up. There's some other little collections on there too. But it's goodbye for now. Have a great week, whatever you're fishing for, and tight lines. Thanks, mate. Lovely stuff.
Watch all 6 Sky Sports channels on your mobile and online.